The joy of discovery, that moment when hope and expectations were gloriously met by the illumination of one bright star.
We cannot imagine what words were spoken by visitors, or their first impressions left them somewhat confused.
Messiah, born in the barest of palaces, yet they saw and fell down on their knees in adoration.
They saw the child and knew whom they had met.
Let us pray. Gracious God, as we meet around crib or candle, wreath or rally, table or tent city, draw us into your imagination. In a quiet moment of prayer, in this brief oasis from the bustle of the world, bring alive for us the dream you dream. In the cries and laughter of the child Christ, recognized and celebrated in cultures beyond our own around the world, draw us close to our Jesus, Messiah, and brother, as we bring not gold, myrrh, or frankincense, but the gift of our lives, the only offering we have.
Give us grace to see. Amen.
A reading from Isaiah, from the prophet Isaiah, chapter 60. Arise, shine, for your light has come. The glory of God is rising upon you. Though darkness still comes to the earth and dense clouds enshroud the peoples, upon you God now dawns, and God's glory will be seen among you. The nations will come to your light, and the leaders to your bright dawn. Lift up your eyes and look around. They're all gathering and coming to you, your daughters and your sons, journeying from afar, escorted in safety. You'll see them, beaming, see them and beam with joy. Your heart will swell with pride. The riches of the sea will flow to you. All the nations will come to you. Camel caravans will cover your roads with dromedaries and Midian and Ephraim. Everyone in Sheba will come, bringing gold and incense, and singing praise to God. Praise of God. This ends the reading.
A reading from T.S. Eliot, The Journey of the Magi. A cold coming we had of it, just the worst time of the year for the journey, and such a long journey. The ways deep and the weather sharp, the very dead of winter, and the camels galled, sore-footed, refractory, lying down in the melting snow. There were times we regretted the summer palaces on slopes, the terraces, and the silken girls bringing sherbet. Then the camel men cursing and grumbling and running away and wanting their liquor and women, and the night fires going out, and the lack of shelters, and the cities hostile and the towns unfriendly, and the villages dirty and charging high prices. A hard time we had of it. At the end, we preferred to travel all night, sleeping in snatches, with the voices singing in our ears, saying this was all folly. Then at dawn, we came down to a temperate valley, wet below the snow line, smelling of vegetation, with a running stream and a watermill beating the darkness, and 3 trees on the low sky. And an old white horse galloped away in the meadow. Then we came to a tavern with vine leaves over the lintel, 6 hands at an open door, dicing for pieces of silver, and feet kicking the empty wineskins. But there was no information, and we continued and arrived at evening, not a moment too soon, finding the place. It was, we may say, satisfactory. All this was a long time ago, I remember, and I would do it again, but sat down. This sat down. This. Were we led all that way for birth or death? There was a birth, certainly. We had evidence and no doubt. I had seen birth and death, but had thought they were different. This birth was hard and bitter agony for us, like death, our death. We returned to our places, these kingdoms, but no longer at ease there, here, in the old dispensation, with an alien people clutching their gods. I should be glad of another death. This ends the reading.
A reading from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 2. After Jesus' birth, which happened in Bethlehem in Judea during the reign of Herod, astrologers from the east arrived in Jerusalem and asked, "Where is the newborn ruler of the Jews? We observed his star at its rising and have come to pay homage." At this news, Herod became greatly disturbed, as did all of Jerusalem, summoning all the chief priests and religious scholars of the people. He asked them where the Messiah was to be born. In Bethlehem of Judea, they informed him. Here is what the prophet has written. And you, Bethlehem, land of Judea, are by no means least among the leaders of Judah, since from you will come a ruler who is to shepherd my people Israel. Herod called the astrologers aside and found out from them the exact time of the star's appearance. Then he sent them to Bethlehem, after having instructed them Go and get detailed information about the child. When you have found him, report back to me, so that I may go and offer homage to him too. After their audience with the ruler, they set out. The star who stayed observed at the rising went ahead of them until it came to a standstill over the place where the child lay. They were overjoyed at seeing the star, and upon entering the house, found the child with Mary, his mother. They prostrated themselves and paid homage. Then they opened their coffers and presented the child with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. They were warned in a dream not to return to Herod, so they went back to their country, their own country, by another route. After the astrologers had left, the angel of God suddenly appeared in a dream to Joseph with the command, "Get up, take the child and his mother, and flee to Egypt. Stay there until I tell you otherwise. Herod is searching for the child to destroy him." Joseph got up, awakened Jesus and Mary, and they left that night for Egypt. They stayed there until the death of Herod, to fulfill what God had said through the prophet. Out of Egypt, I have called my own. Herod became furious when he realized that the astrologers had outwitted him. He gave orders to kill all male children that were 2 years old and younger, and living in and around Bethlehem. The age of the children was based on the date Herod had learned from the astrologers. Then, what was spoken through the prophet Jeremiah was fulfilled. A voice was heard in Ramah, sobbing and lamenting loudly. It was Rachel, weeping for her children. She refused to be consoled, for they were no more. After Herod's death, the angel of God appeared in a dream to Joseph in Egypt with the command, "Get up, take the child and his mother, and set out for the land of Israel." Those who had resigned from the life of the child are dead. Joseph got up, awakened Jesus and Mary, and they returned to the land of Israel. Joseph heard, however, that Archelaus had succeeded Herod as ruler of Judea, and Joseph was afraid to go back there. Instead, because of a warning received by Joseph in a dream, the family went to the region of Galilee. There, they settled in the town called Nazareth. This ends the reading.
Let's stand together and sing.
Let's be in prayer. Spirit of the living God, light of the world, be present with us as we meditate upon your scripture, as we seek your word in our own lives, as we seek your calling for our spirit. In the words of my mouth and the meditations of all of our hearts, be acceptable unto you, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. When Pastor Deb asked me to preach today, she told me that the title of her message was, as written here, One Hell of a Ride. She said I could use that. But be free to go wherever I was led by Scripture and the Spirit. Well, in reading that second chapter of Matthew, I found myself saying, one hell of a birth story. It reminded me of the Facebook posting that I saw in Bible a few weeks ago. It started as a picture of 3 cages out on a church lawn. The center cage had the baby Jesus locked inside. And separated from him in a separate cages was his mother Mary on one side, locked up, and Joseph way over on the other side, locked up. It was placed at the Claremont United Methodist Church in Claremont, California. And there was a sign there that encouraged onlookers to, quote, consider the most well-known refugee family in the world. They feared persecution and death. What if this family sought refuge in our own country today? There were lots of comments about this. Some affirmed this. Many ridiculed and were angry with it. A number of those that I read talked about it being too dark and deadly and messing up with Christmas, joy, and celebration. They thought it was not light or right. It brought to my mind, though, the concern of my grandfather. When I was a child, he told me more than once how respectful I should be to my mother. She put her life on the line at your birth, he said. And birth is always a dangerous thing. Later on, I understood, this particularly during his time, birth was a very dangerous thing here in our nation, as it is in many nations today, and many births today in this nation. But he said this, I believe, whenever he felt like I was not being respectful enough, or being actually disrespectful to my mother. It was only later that I discovered a special reason for his concern. For 2 of us 4 boys that were born to my mother were birthed with life-threatening circumstances. My oldest brother, Ernie, was born at home with a cord wrapped around his neck and he almost choked to death coming out. My mother became pregnant for me when she was going through a dreadful, serious illness. And it was not sure whether or not either she nor I would live through it. She did. Matthew's gospel makes Jesus' birth a life and death story, putting together both promise and peril. The promise comes with the light, the shining star that appeared as a portent in the sky, seen beyond the nation of Israel by wise representatives of the whole world. It brings in the mind's eye the fulfillment of the prophetic promise proclaimed by Isaiah. What we just read. Arise, shine, for your light has come. The glory of God is rising. That's the promise. The promise of light. The promise of God's love. The promise of peace. The promise of hope. The promise of fulfillment. Clearly we can see here why we might even want to join with the caravan of seekers and be a part of traveling near or far, near or abroad, and witness this birth, this light beginning to shine. At the same time, however, we soon see that there is a threat of death amidst the promise. The wise ones recognize this even at the moment of seeing and believing in the promise found in the Christ child, Jesus. After bending their knee and giving their gifts, they perceive that there is a threat in the powers that be. They are not deceived by the sweet talk of Herod. So therefore they don't go back to him. We can see it too in the next words of Isaiah. After Isaiah says, rise, shine, and for your light has come, and the glory of God is rising. He says the glory of God is rising, though darkness still covers the earth, and dense clouds enshroud the peoples. There is light, but we are covered also with clouds of death. It moves us to understand that threats coming sometimes after birth, perhaps 2 years, in Jesus' case, when Herod comes to see the child as a threat, so that the family has to run for their lives, especially the life of the child, seeking asylum in Egypt, where, thank God, they are received. But still, they definitely live as foreigners, as refugees, as a part of a minority community. They would not necessarily be able to speak their mother tongue there, nor be accustomed to the ways of that culture. That is where Jesus lived and grew up with his mother Mary, and with Joseph for a time. We're not sure exactly what time, but during his early years. Undoubtedly, knowing of the massacre of the children back home in Bethlehem, some of those babes that were slaughtered by Herod's henchmen were most likely cousins or had some kinship with Jesus. And therefore, family would have shared that story while they were away. Because this was Bethlehem and all the territory surrounding Bethlehem, where the children were slaughtered, were the roots of Jesus' family, his ancestors, his life. Jesus' family, therefore, was never really settled in this foreign land. They were there in waiting, in the hopes of returning home with the promise given in Joseph's dream of a time yet to come when the danger would pass. So it is appropriate that Matthew takes us back to the voice of Rachel, the great matriarch of our Hebrew faith, the personification of motherly, maternal grief. Matthew brings her voice into the story of Jesus via the prophet Jeremiah, who remembered her as he wrote about the calamity that had befallen God's people when they were overrun and driven into exile. Their Babylonian captors had assembled the terrified deportees in the border town of Ramah. And it was there that Jeremiah hears the weeping voice down through the ages for her children. Rachel weeping in Ramah for her children. And she will not be comforted because they are no more. Reverend Dr. Mary Luty speaks of this in a powerful sermon that she preached in 2012, but it is away from our little history here. She says, Rachel's weeping is the voice of all the mothers of Bethlehem's babies, and to the unvoiceable anguish of every parent and family and clan and nation, from whom children have ever been torn away by a police state, both then and now, by Jim Crow, or apartheid, or political greed, or indifference, by war, and the glorification of war, by gun violence, by bigotry, by crushing poverty. Rachel will not be hushed about these things, because her anguish will not be pacified. These days, we are surrounded by hushing voices, by knowing voices that try to explain and justify, by cool voices that make light of what violence actually does in reality, and paint sometimes a sanctified picture of the meaning of suffering. The myth of redemptive violence. That my violence will stop violence somehow. By the pandering of voices of politicians, by the smug voices of the self-made man, by the dismissive voices of the privileged. It is necessary for us to remember at this time and place that Jesus would later in life say, suffer the little ones, suffer the children to come to me. Jesus understood by his own childhood. Jesus understood by his own experience in birth and in life. Jesus understood how it is the children that suffer the most in violence and in war, in all kinds of violence and all kinds of war. It is right for us to connect him to the most vulnerable of the world because he connected himself. And understand why he declared that if anyone causes one of them to slip or to falter, he will be in deep trouble with Jesus. We can also be reminded of the horrific slaughters down through the ages and in our own land. Because sometimes, when we see slaughter going on in other places, and we see genocide and hurt and harm being done like in China or in India or in other spots in our own world today, we can think, well, that's not like us. We can think we're better. But if we stop and think about the horrific genocide and the slaughter and the wipe out of nations of people and the soil that we live on now, and the many trails of tears, the utter misery and the murderous slavery system which ripped Africans from their lands and tore mothers from their children, selling them like cattle in a barnyard. And then moving from slavery to Jim Crow and public shaming and celebrated lynchings, then to mass incarceration. Then we know that the call of Jesus and the idea of birth and life being so and death being so closely connected then we must recognize this day in two terms. The suffering does go on today. The clouds, as Isaiah said, still cover the earth. More recently, images of children being taken from their parents on our own border, or pictures of children being turned away after fleeing from homelands in desperation, evoke the same deep sorrow. Rachel makes only a brief appearance on Christmas stage, but when this waiting mother of a dead child shows up beside a sleeping child, we're also reminded that our feeble words cannot speak adequately, but God's word can. The word we experience in Jesus can speak adequately in these times. In fact, in all times. The babe who escaped this time, the child who one Herod could not find, but who would be found by another Herod in 33 years. Time will not escape him then. This word is God's decisive word to our world. It is also a word of comfort in all the world's Rachels might finally be willing to accept it, because it is a word of justice. A word profound enough and courageous enough and persevering enough to trial and cross and grave, to address whatever horrific stuff our living and our dying, our ignorance and our sin and our fear can present. Now and forever, it is spoken powerfully against the powers that be, defeating death itself. So when we pick up its resonance and welcome its light here on this Epiphany Sunday, and we echo its truth and live in its dangerous edge, then we are a part of the travelers. We are a part of the wise who take home the light of the world in Jesus. We recognize Jesus as our light, and we seek to reflect that light in our lives. Lawrence Ferris writes, Herod sent his soldiers to get the baby Jesus, but also to squelch any messianic hopes in the people. It seems that Matthew tells this story to remind us of that, and to remind us that conflict waged in every soul, in every age. And so we must speak of what is our responsibility. Now, to be honest, I get very fearful of anything that I or we could do to mean anything. And so that is important for my spirit and my soul, and I believe many, many others, especially those of us here at Woodside, can feel discouraged and break into silence. Or we can proclaim the light and believe, just as those wayfarers, those strangers, those foreigners did that came to Jesus' house at that time, that he is the light and still is the light. And so that therefore we have a responsibility to not only believe in that light of Jesus, but to live that light and to share it as best we are able, and not to give up. There are possibilities for acting and speaking up that we can find, and that we have found. One of the examples of that kind of finding a way to shed the light of Jesus now on this day goes back to that church, that Methodist church there in Claremont, California. Because not only did they put that page, nativity scene, outside the church, inside the church they had Jesus, Mary, and Joseph back together again. And outside the cage, believing that life starts with Jesus. But also, they didn't do just a show, just a symbol on their lawn or in their sanctuary. They had before this time raised $10,000 and joined with Mexican churches on the border that would be able to help get representation, legal help, for those who were trying to come as refugees into our land and were pushed back into Mexico. And also to get assistance in their care, in their housing. In other words, they put their word of light into their lives and their actions. They found a way to say something, to do something, and to be a part of the light of Christ in our world today. That's a wonderful witness, isn't it? Another example of that is the 200 Jewish people that went down to our border and got arrested and said, never again, never again, because they understand that what we're fighting about and working for, if we want to have peace and we want to have welcome and we want to have that light that Jesus is, then we can never again have the Holocaust, which not only have they experienced in the past, but seems to be coming right on our doors today as synagogues and mosques and churches are being violated with violence. Finally, there's a story about the singing of the song, Go Tell It on the Mountain. That song came up particularly from the Fisk School, the university, which was formed in 1866. And the African-American composer John Wesley Work, who taught there and taught classics at Fisk, which was an African-American and still an African-American college, and used to sing that song as a part of the Christmas repertory, and they would go around and sing it on campus. That same song became an important word. The one that shared this story says, in thinking about this spiritual, I recall that James Baldwin borrowed it for the title of his first novel, published in 1953. That book is a searing portrayal of black life in America, of American lives horribly damaged by racism, and a society confronting inevitable change in the civil rights movement. It struck me that the Go Tell It on the Mountain is no tinsel-thin holiday song, but a strong and resilient song of people for whom good news has always been in short supply. The song of a people who had endured unspeakable inhumanity as enslaved women and men and children, but still found the courage to endure even more as they stood up to act and to demand that others act to recognize and respect their humanity. The same humanity that God was irrevocably committed to the newborn flesh of Jesus. The song of a people who understood in Baldwin's word that to act is to be committed, and to be committed is to be in danger. It's not for nothing that in the 1960s, civil rights movements, Go Tell It on the Mountain was sung with the words, not just to that Jesus Christ is born, but to let my people go. So whenever you sing this wonderful spiritual, that it may bring a sense of strong song for you and for your spirit. Sometimes it's even in our singing, in our affirmation salvation of the light of Christ's coming, that we give best witness, the light over death, in Christ our Lord. Amen.
A litany for Epiphany. All the ends of the earth have seen the salvation of our God. Alleluia. With joy, let us pray to our Messiah, the child of God, saying, the grace of God be with us all. O Christ, the light of all, let your gospel shine in every place where the word of life is not welcome. Draw the whole creation to yourself, that your salvation may be known through all the earth.
Grace of God be with us all.
O Christ, Holy One, enliven and transform your church in every place. Make it a place of welcome for people of every race and tongue.
Grace of God be with us all.
O Christ, our guide and model, inspire the work and thoughts of the leaders of nations, that they may seek justice and further peace for all.
Grace of God be with us all.
O Christ, comforter of all, support of the weak and comfort of the afflicted, strengthen the tempted and raise the fallen. Watch over the lonely and those in danger. Give hope to the despairing and sustain the faith of the persecuted, especially those we name now.
Or leave. Becky and kids.
Peggy,
John Murphy.
your name is anyone? Emily? Tracy?
Jamie Mead, Gabriel Oxel, Earl Logan, Mark Jones, Miriam Triplett, Aaron Crane Calistino, Randy Crane Bixby, Jason Worshenholm, Cliff Worshenholm, Mayor Sheldon Dean.
And those known only to you.
Grace of God be with us all.
O Christ, life made manifest as the true light of God, gladden our hearts on this joyful morning and receive our thanks for those with cause for thanksgiving.
Renee and Holly.
Call us by our name throughout our lives and give us grace to offer with all the hosts of heaven unending praise to God, in whom all creation finds its life now and ever.
Amen.
The light of God shines in the world as often as we live that light in passion, peace, and justice. Let us offer our gifts in the spirit of generosity and hope.
Let our lips point to your presence in the world, and let us earlier bring forth the world. Through Jesus, your Emmanuel, God with us. Amen.
We have come asking for the child,
Wondering that the love might be born.
seeking that joy that might satisfy our thirst.
Wandering through the darkness of so many mistakes.
We have come to this place where astrologers, shepherds, and young travelers met.
We have come to this place called Bethlehem.
To this place where our hearts rise like yeast. To this place where we are invited to meet our newborn hope. To this place where we are invited to taste our deepest joy. To this place where, distracted by our own fears and longings, we somehow miss its name.
Bethlehem.
Lehem meaning bread. Bethel meaning house.
There is something here that will satisfy our hunger.
No matter how long we have wandered, here our hearts arise. Our light has come. In this bread and in this cup, we celebrate something we can't quite understand. Because God has made a house at this table. Because God satisfies our hunger in the most unlikely places.
Because God chooses to be with us.
Because God comes to be with us.
Now and always.
Let us pray. O God, pour out your Spirit on this bread and this cup, and pour your grace upon us as we eat and drink. Let us remember a newborn baby might grow into a divine insurgent, the one who changes everything. Feed us and bless us. Amen.
The gifts of God for the people of God.
Indeed, come and eat. Loving God, we thank you for your invitation to the table and for the feast that you have provided.
Let your love flow through us, and your light shine in us, and into the lives of all whom we meet along the way. Amen.
Now may the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the holy communion of the Holy Spirit be upon you and go with you this day and forever. Amen.
Amen.
Said Bishop Stephen Cottrell of some place in England, Holy Communion is not the hot bath at the end of the day where we lie back and forget all our troubles. It is more like the cold shower at the beginning of the day to zap us up and energize us for what lies ahead. With that in mind, we depart to serve, to be a light in a spirit of joy and of defiance. Let us go forth with an uneasy peace.
Let's stand together and sing our closing hymn, please.
Karen would really appreciate it. Go with this.
Blends, you know,